Let's walk to the sea. Take my hand and kiss me. This is where I want to be. Here with you, so close to me.
Hello, and welcome to another beer review. Ow! I've just kicked the table. I hope everybody's having a better day than I am. But yeah, there we go. Get comfy. Don't try and kick the leg again. That was sore right in the shin. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good day. We're going to do another beer review, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I hope this doesn't disappoint because I'm going to say I'm excited, but I'm been looking forward to this, to hopefully it actually turns out to something that I think it, well, I hope it could be. There's no guarantee, but what I did was I previously been looking at what some of the beers are doing, and I know some of them are coming out with kind of craft ranges, some of the supermarkets in the UK, but I want to look at the kind of more kind of mainstay Lidl stuff, and I looked at the Hatherwood kind of stuff, and I did an amber ale. I think it was about £3.89 for a 4-pack, and it was actually not a bad little beer for the money. And I was looking at some of the other stuff. I've got IPAs, and I think I've got a stout as well. Was it a stout or a porter? I can't remember. But I got some of the stuff from the kind of more kind of standard stuff, not the kind of more kind of craft beer style. Although I will eventually get around to that. I will do that, and I will do some more kind of craft beer kind of stuff. But I just want to look at this kind of Hatherwood as their kind of own product, and it's not a kind of a product where they're kind of asking a brewery to make a product for them, whereas they're actually, you know, getting this made as their own brand type of scenario. So this is a Hatherwood, and it's a ruby ale, and I do like ruby ales. I've got to admit, I do like a ruby ale. And of course, I mean, a ruby ale should have pale and kind of crystal malts in it, and but it should also have a bit of hops to it as well, and that type of stuff. So this is a Hatherwood Ruby Ale. It's a 5%. It's a 500ml bottle, and it's only £1.9. A lot of they've got a kind of range of Hatherwood. I think they've got a Gecko IPA. Although I don't think they call it Gecko now, I think they just call it the IBA. You've got the Ruby Ale, which used to be the Roosters Ruby Ale. And they've got a stout. Is it a stout? Do you have a stout? No, it's a porter. I'm telling you a lie, it's a porter. We've got Hatherwood Porter, we've got Hatherwood IPA. I did the amber ale in the cans, and I've got this Ruby Ale, and hopefully it'll turn out quite nice. But they're all £1.9. So everything in a bottle. So Hatherwood bottles, 500ml. So you've got IPA, a porter, and you've got this, and then of course you've also got a golden ale as well, which was the Hatherwood Golden Goose #1. They're all £1.9. So normally I'm usually doing beers, bottle of beers around about kind of the £1.80 to £2 mark, maybe slightly over. So this would be quite interesting to see what this like is. This is obviously quite a bit cheaper, and if it's good, then great, you know. Thumbs up for that one. So there's a little bit of spiel in the back of this. They've actually kind of woken up and kind of, well, let's give us a bit of information about it. So apparently this Ruby Ale is a true British classic, craft brewed using 100% British barley and a blend of pale and crystal malts. There we go. To give a spicy, fruity aroma, what the am I talking about? Aroma, and a warming malt and toffee flavour. That's one of the major things. I do like that kind of toffee finish, the kind of malted finish that you get with ruby ales. This ale sits right at the top of the pecking order, and because there's a rooster on it, the little pun, pecking order, well done. It contains barley, and that's really it, and it doesn't tell us where it's brewed or whatever, but it's best before 30th of June 2022. But 500ml, 5%. Let's get cracked into this and see, and hopefully it doesn't disappoint, because I want this to be a decent beer. I'm not going to say I want it to be a wonderful beer and everything else, but for £1.9, if it was a decent beer, I mean, if it can get close to 2.5, I'd be quite happy with that. That's a drinkable one. That's one you can just keep in the, you know, for that price you can keep a load in the shed or in the cupboard and that, just for a wee session. You know, nothing wrong with that. But let's see what it's like. Let's see how it pours. Right, first thing I'm noticing, it's a bit light for ruby. It has a tanned head. Yes, it has a kind of magnolia coloured head. It's about 2 fingers. Yeah, almost 2 fingers, yeah. It's a wee bit lighter than a standard ruby. So it's, smell wise, getting malt, getting caramel, light malts. I'm not really getting anything hoppy. Not really getting any grain. Just getting light, delicate malt flavours or aromas. And that's it. That's it. And it is quite light. So let's see what it tastes like. Ooh. Now that is interesting. Right. Starts off with a nice light caramel malt sweetness at the start. And it holds itself to the kind of middle of the tongue. And you're still getting that nice sweetness in the middle of the tongue. And then just past the middle of the tongue it starts to change. And what you're starting to get is, normally with these type of things you'd maybe have a different kind of blend of malts, and you'd maybe get more of the kind of darker roasted malts to try and give you a more kind of a malted bitterness, a kind of more kind of molasses kind of flavour at the back end to help with the kind of tail off to the kind of aftertaste. Whereas it just comes off the middle of the tongue and then you start feeling hops coming in, you start getting that hop flavour coming in, and it finishes off with a kind of bitter hop kind of finish, kind of aftertaste. It's not a huge, but there's quite a transition because you're getting sweetness, 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 and then woof, hot bitterness just coming from nowhere. And that's what kind of took me. But you don't get any hop aromas whatsoever. It's got a sharp bitterness too. If you compare it to the amber ale, the Hatherwood amber ale, it had a malt bitterness, which was more balanced because it went in quite well, because you're starting off with the light malt sweetness, and then of course it was transitioning through the mouth to the back, and it was giving you more of a kind of a malted bitter finish. Whereas this one is giving you, transitioning to a kind of hop, but because it's not really transitioning, it's just like kind of ever so slightly the caramel's kind of dissipating just after kind of mid-tongue, and then boom, you really start getting this hop, and it just intensifies a bit coming in towards the back of the mouth, and it just seems to come from nowhere. And of course, it's quite a strong one that kind of, once you've actually swallowed it, kind of that bitterness kind of ever so slightly comes back across the tongue a bit towards the middle of the tongue. So you get a little bit of bitterness in the back, but you're also getting a little bit of bitterness being left at the middle of the tongue as well, just because of how it kind of doubles back on you. It's not a bad beer, and it's not an unpleasant beer with its kind of flavour profiles. But what it is how you drink it makes a difference. If you try and savour it or hold it in the mouth too long, then that bitterness can be a bit too overpowering. I mean, it starts off with a really nice mouthfeel, nice kind of like pale caramel toffee sweetness, nice start, but then the finish is completely different. It doesn't kind of follow the normal kind of transition, and if you hold it on, that kind of hops becomes a lot more overpowering, and it just kind of ever so slightly spoils the enjoyment of it. But you drink it quite quickly and swallow it quite quickly. So you take a mouthful and get it down you. Then it's more enjoyable that way. So again, it's how you're really drinking it. So don't let it linger too long in the mouth. And yes, the hoppiness, bitterness is there, but it's not as intense. It doesn't get a chance to really build up if you're holding it in the mouth. Sorry. But yeah, it's a strange one, but yeah, it works. If you drink it a certain way, it works. If you drink it a more kind of laboured, more kind of a holding drinking, I think it's the case is that when you're drinking it to get the flavours out of it, then, you know, if you're doing a beer review, then yeah, that's a different story. I mean, if I'm drinking it to get the flavours out of it, it probably isn't the best way to enjoy it. And it's probably not particularly fair. But if you take it and yeah, it's alright. That's fine. So yeah, if you're drinking more kind of a normal people would drink it, and they're sitting down watching television, watching football, or having a chat with your friends and things like that, then yeah, it's fine. And for the money, £1.9, 5%, 500ml, what would I give it? Being drunk kind of quickly and being synced, you know what I mean, because you could use it, it's a bit of a session beer anyway, so you could drink it and drink quite a lot of them and sync them, and I think it probably your second bottle would probably, once your mouth is fully acclimatised, it would kind of ease up as well, and become more pleasant after the second bottle. So that basis, I'm going to give it, for the price and everything else, I'm going to give it a 2.4 out of 5. Very close to being a 2.5, very close to being right on the button, right middle of the road. Would I buy it again? Yeah, I would, because I'm going to actually buy a couple of them and see what they're like when you're drinking a few of them. You know, you've had your first bottle, what's the second and third bottle like, and does it still have the same kind of flavour profiles and feeling as the first one, or does it kind of gently dissipate as your mouth gets more acquired to it and become more drinkable? So yes, a 2.4. I would buy it again because I'd like to try it, and it'll be interesting to see obviously if it works, because if it's at 1.9, if it becomes more drinkable as a session one, then yes, I'll have a couple of bottles in the cupboard or the shed, just to have as a wee change. And at £1.9, yeah, why not? But yeah, bit of a strange one, because usually we start off with a strong malt flavour. You're going to kind of have a transition to a kind of different malt finish. Kind of strange, because in cases though, normally if you're going to have a strong hop finish, then you're going to have a kind of hop kind of starter. Yes, you can still obviously have a sweetness brought by light malts, but you can also have some other hops kind of flavourings working with that. So again, it's not such a big kind of culture shock to going from caramel and maltiness to hoppiness. So you've got kind of caramel and hoppiness, maltiness and hoppiness together, and then going maybe to a stronger hoppy finish. That's kind of the normal process. So yeah, this is a bit different. Whether good or bad, you tell me. But yeah, 2.4 out of 5. We'll experiment with this more. We do have obviously more Hatherwoods to try from Lidl. We have a IP and a porter, so it'll be interesting to see what that's like. But yeah, there's a bit of hoppiness to this, and a little bit of caramel to this as well. So that's us for this review. Thanks for watching. Cheers, and bye for now.